Welcome back to Supporting Physician Spouses. I'm Katie.
And I'm Kendra. Today we're joined by Dr. Talon Harris, and you already know Katie, his lovely wife.
We are so excited for this episode today. We are diving into topics every physician family can relate to: imposter syndrome, balancing time, work-home dynamics, and the journey of leadership during residency.
Thank you so much for being here, Talon.
So good to meet you. I know you so well,
Yeah,
but
you
it's the first time.
I feel I know you so well too. Does that make you a little nervous?
No,
It
not at
shouldn't.
all.
Just
No, not at all.
It's like, let me think about that.
yeah. So Katie and I, we've done this twice before. She interviewed me, and then she facilitated an interview with my spouse that we published a couple of weeks ago when this is finally aired. At the time, I was really nervous having my spouse on. Katie, how are you feeling?
She just feel excited. It's fun to have him be a part of
Okay.
this. Yeah.
That's awesome. How are you feeling, Talon?
I'm excited. I'm glad to be here. I do want to challenge Dr. Harvey as #1 fan, though.
We could have a fan battle. That would be great. We love all of our fans. You listen to our podcast? I am flattered.
Absolutely.
That is great. I think that speaks volumes for both Dr. Harris and Dr. Harvey that they are huge supporters of their spouses. And that is actually one of the traits that makes for a wonderful marriage is that bidirectional support. I've heard lots from Katie about how supportive you are, and it's evident in watching the two of you, which our listeners won't be able to see, but they're a very cute couple. So we're really glad to have you here and grateful that you're willing to field some questions, some that will be informed by questions that listeners or clients have had over the years or things that we've seen on social media that we want to talk about, or you never know what's going to come up. So we're going to be flexible and just go with wherever the questions lead us. So are you up for that?
Yeah, I love it. Let's go.
Excellent. Katie's told me a little bit, and I think she's shared with our listeners before how the two of you met and kind of what is your love story that has brought you to this point.
Well, that depends who you ask. For me, it started in first grade. For Katie, it started in college. She was my first grade crush, and always had one of those secret crushes in elementary school. I don't know if you mentioned this on the other podcast, but in second grade, she gave a generic Valentine to everyone in the class, and I kept it thinking it was a personal one to me, even though I did not have my name on it. And I mean, through the years, kind of always kept in touch, went to the different high schools, eventually came back to college nearby, and um, found each other on Facebook and reconnected and started dating. And she jumped on the journey with me. We are doing this crazy residency journey together.
Okay, this is almost a Hallmark movie
Yeah.
type of meeting. Boy meets girl
Uh-huh.
in first grade, saves the
Yeah.
Valentine. Well, I think that's fabulous. So, Katie, what I want to know is when you jumped on this journey with Talon, did you know where the journey was going, or you just knew it would be something fun and you wanted to do it with him? What was your kind of take on what he was proposing?
That's a really good question. And I think, like I've shared, I'm up for adventure. And I am also a big fan of lofty goals initially and throughout, but sometimes with hesitation. I am so excited to help, to support, to be along the journey to allow him to achieve something that for many years we thought wasn't attainable. But it felt like this kind of spiritual calling for Talon, and I wasn't going to let him quit. There were many times where grades aren't working out, or he applied to medical school 2 years in a row and we weren't having very much success. And maybe I consider other areas of medicine. Um, and I didn't feel good about that. I said, no, I think there's a way. And through kind of divine intervention of other people stepping in and providing advice, we kept at it and found a way into medical school. I've been asked this a lot, typically when we're going through a really hard season in residency. Didn't you know what you were signing up for? Your spouse didn't plug your ears when you said, I'm going to medical school. But just like parenthood, you don't really know what it's actually going to be like until you're on it, and how hard. And I probably thought I was going to be an exception to the rule. I'm stronger. I can do hard things. I'm an endurer. But nope, it's hard for everyone. And it's a unique challenge that can be a blessing. But the answer to your question was, yeah, I was excited for it.
Absolutely. At what point, Talon, in your education, did you decide that you wanted to be a doctor and pursue medical school?
I had the idea as a high schooler. I did pre-med classes. I remember seeing a diabetic foot ulcer and like, oh, that looks weird, but it seemed interesting. And then I got through college and started to volunteer with different groups and started the pre-med route. And I kind of just had this back in my mind idea of being a doctor. I think it really solidified when I worked in the field at a couple local volunteer clinics for uninsured patients, and then ultimately as a medical assistant at a community health clinic where I got to see family medicine, which is general primary care, in action, and like that solidified my resolve to be a doctor. So amidst the setbacks I had in undergrad and in my master's and in medical school, I had that like big picture mentality of the end goal I wanted to get to, and that helped me get through those big setbacks.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that because Katie has told me that you did med school and then the master's program. Or was it the master's program and then
Yeah,
it
so
was okay?
well, that's a funny story. So I did undergrad, graduated, worked as a medical assistant while I applied to medical school. And after not getting in twice to med school, I tried to find alternate career paths we talked about. Then I came across a master's of biomedical sciences, which seemed an alternative option for people to boost up their grades or have a second chance to prove themselves that, academically they can maybe do a graduate level degree. And so I applied to a couple of master's programs, got rejected, and I thought, all right, that is our sign that this is not going to work. And then one program in Colorado called me and said I was waitlisted. And then they said, you can drop off if you want. And I said, let's just keep my name on the wait list. And then they finally called and said, hey, we're in Colorado. It starts next week. But if you want to get up and go, you can go do this program. And we just barely celebrated our first kid's first birthday. And I was like, this is our moment. I don't know how financially this is going to work out. And there's no guarantee doing this program that we would have a career at the end of it. But I didn't see any other option to continue with this path, and so we dropped my job, dropped everything to say goodbye to our family, took off to Colorado, and did this 9-month intensive program. And then I got to earn an interview at a medical school associated with this group. And then, I mean, the story keeps going, but it was a last minute interview. Yeah, it was June. I interviewed into med school. So it was 3 weeks before med school started. So we went from Colorado to Salt Lake, down to Southern Utah, you know, and then got into medical school. So it was a really quick transition.
So when I said in my episode that we've been conditioned to expect rejection, this is what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Our entry into the system was no, no, no. And then we're like, but I think we see a tiny window of opportunity. We got really good at the scramble and move and sight unseen, finding a rental. And yeah, it's just been a big old whiplash.
Yeah. It reminds me of the parable of the friend at midnight. And that is the way that God intervenes in my life. He waits until the very last minute. He leaves me guessing. And then the very last minute, something opens up and then everything falls into place. It's why?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
We've kind of come to the conclusion that it's been this way so that there's no question that there's been divine intervention, that this is God's plan for both of us. I'm starting to realize that this journey has been for me just as much as it's been for Talon. And because there's been so many close calls, exact miracles that were needed in order for this to happen, we just see it as God keeping us humble.
Yeah, amen to that. Talent, you'd mentioned that you had applied to medical school a couple of times, and I just want to confirm that that experience is more common than you think. My husband, he didn't say the words necessarily. I think he just said it took a lot to get there, but it was either 2 or 3 times that he had applied. And for whatever reason, and we don't know why, other than the fact if he would have gotten into medical school any sooner, we never would have met. And so I always say, I'm really sorry that I was the holdup in this equation for you.
I love it.
So, what do you think kept you going and reapplying every time? Can you identify what that drive was?
I mean, definitely Katie did have a lot of hard stops when I tried to give up and would not let me. However, I would say at the very beginning of my pre-med career, first day of pre-med club or whatever, this doctor came in and said, if you can think of one other career, now's your time to get up and get out of this room. And I couldn't at the time. And then after every setback, I went through the list of every potential medical career or offshoot or alternative, and I just could not find anything fulfilling. And then as a medical assistant, which I love that job, but I feel like I hit my ceiling so quickly that I knew I wanted to be able to do more for patients. So that internal drive to fulfill a potential that I had inside, combined with, mine and Katie's resolve to not give up and find something and not have an alternative. I felt like sink or swim, which is weird. I'm like, there's a lot of other jobs. I just didn't feel like I wanted to settle.
All right, so tell us, what are you doing now? What are you passionate about? Where is this career going?
Oh my
Tell
goodness,
us
this is fun.
tell us all the things. Yeah.
It's yeah. So right now I'm a third year family medicine resident in Washington, and for family medicine that is the last year of residency, and so I'm specializing within family medicine in doing OB, not C-sections, but low risk vaginal deliveries. And I, in a year from now, will start in a private practice clinic doing that. And it's really fun to be this far along in the journey to go from general medicine and medical school, intern year, and now work to this third year of I can see my career unfolding and I'm practicing what I want to be doing. Family med, OB. My offshoots in family med I'm passionate about are osteopathic manipulative treatment. I'm a DO, as well as ultrasound. POCUS is another new emerging field within primary care that's being, I mean, it's utilized everywhere, but in primary care it's being utilized. So there's lots of different offshoots, but I love my job. It's really, really, really fun. I am a lead resident, formerly known as chief resident. Um, it seems crazy, but I really enjoy leadership. I enjoy processes and how things work and improving things. And I feel like we have a really good program, and I wanted to continue to work closely with my program directors and try to make our experiences as a program as residents better and our um, training improving and our relationship with specialists and other medical professionals.
Katie, I want to hear from you. Was this a decision that you both came to together, or were you again that supportive? Yes, you should totally go for lead resident. It is increasing responsibility. It is increasing workload. It is signing up for more than you necessarily have to get a job. So tell me what discussion was like in your household.
Right. And it's not like he's applying to fellowship or this will look good on the application. Honestly, I feel like even since you've been an intern, the program directors have somewhat nudged him, hey, just have this on your radar. You would be a good candidate to be lead when the time comes. So it's been on our mind for a while, but when he told me that he wanted to, I was like, great. like, but again, I didn't really know what the responsibilities would be. And so far, it's been pretty manageable. And he really does love it. He enjoys being able to advocate for his fellow residents and be that liaison for the program directors and also other leaders within the hospital system. And it's fun. It's fun to watch him utilize a skill that has developed over the years.
It's amazing because this is kind of my area of interest. I always have to ask. Tell me about your program, and is it inclusive of families? And I'll preface that with saying the experience at our program when we were going through, there was a family medicine residency program also, and they seemed to be very inclusive and understanding of the demands of a family, more so than the neurosurgery program was. Do you see any of that in your program, and what does that look like?
I would say on paper, when I interviewed with my program, my only interaction with them was with the program directors and one resident family that we got connected with. So I didn't know beforehand until I got there. And since I'm there, very friendly. I feel like every year a faculty and one resident has had a child, and they've been very accommodating and supportive. And we're very small in our program, but despite that, they help, you know, balance time for people go to appointments, and when they have their child, they have 3 months of leave, which is Washington State plus just the program flexibility, a lot of good support. And I feel like as I interviewed to other programs, another program on my list was very well known in the Midwest for having a family centered group. And so I feel like it might have been a specialty thing, family medicine. People,
Mhm.
are accustomed to that. And I feel like generally my program and then other programs are more family friendly.
Some
Yeah.
something that we learned from being connected with a resident before we started was um, that's residency typically tries to gather with families whenever they do any types of retreats. They invite the whole family. I was like, well,
Mm.
that's a good sign.
Yes.
And I will say, not all of the residents have families, so there's not maybe a robust group of spouses and their families getting together often, but we've kind of been able to make friends with the families that are here and find our community.
Well, just congratulations to that program for including families in their retreats. That's huge.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of steps we would like to see across all programs in
Yeah.
every specialty.
I didn't think about that being unique, but
That's
yeah, that
great.
is very unique. And I would give them a shout out.
Yeah, it
But
really
yeah.
is. Yeah, that's great. So let's transition out of this topic and let's
Yeah.
move into one that I think all physicians probably face at some point in their career, some earlier than later, but it always shows up, and that is imposter syndrome. So, have you experienced that at any point of your residency or through medical school? And what did that look like for you?
Yeah. I never heard the term imposter syndrome until I got to my master's program. And right away, I sat down in that program and I talked to the people next to me and I heard about their career paths. And one guy was like, I work for the CDC. And everyone's like, oh, I did this research with who knows who and published 20 papers. Whoa, I do not belong here. I was on the wait list. I was just filling a spot that they needed. I do not belong here. And throughout that program, and then I'll jump into medical school, similar thing. Did I get in because I just had this master's program history and I interviewed, and then I'm going to jump ahead to residency where I still felt imposter syndrome. I remember telling my program directors, I feel like I'm Dr. So and so, but I don't feel like a doctor. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. Yes, I went to medical school and I passed all my tests at all those places. I had my master's program director, and my residency. They both had to stop me and say, you can feel that way, but you have to get over yourself because you have to trust the people that evaluated you, trust the people that wrote you letters of rec, trust the people that evaluated you as a whole as you applied to our program. We all know that you're capable of doing this and that you can do this. And so it's normal to feel nervous, but to feel like you are an imposter in this career is not true. And that was really helpful to me to get over that self deprecating feelings that I was creating in my mind. And then, like, it's okay not to know something. We can always look things up, we can always ask for help, but to let it become a hinderment to my learning or my self confidence was where I felt the imposter syndrome becoming a problem. So I feel like after my intern year, I've accepted not knowing as being okay. But the feeling of I don't belong here and therefore I should avoid progressing or succeeding or something was really a game changer.
Yeah, I appreciate that you said that because I think so often what we think of is, oh, the thoughts that I'm having must be true, and everybody else's objective perspective of me has to be wrong. Either they were
Mm-hmm.
too generous in their compliments, they just wrote a nice letter to move me on to somebody else.
Yeah.
So I'd be under somebody else's guide, but I think that's really important. And I think imposter syndrome in general just means that you care a lot, that you want to be good, you want to be able to provide the best care for your patients, and maybe we'd be worried about you if you didn't have a little bit of it.
Yeah, yeah. And then you're right. As I talk to other docs, even my attendings that are, 5, 10, 20 years, you said they do feel it. Everyone feels it at times. And people feel it outside
Yeah.
of medicine and some other careers. And so, yeah, it's definitely common and important to talk about and to address it.
Yeah. What advice would you give to somebody else who's maybe feeling that imposter syndrome right now and wondering if they're going to be able to do it? They're going to be a doctor. Can they really do this on their own?
Great question. I think apart from what I said about falling back on who has trusted you and got you to this point, knowing that becoming a doctor or being a physician is a spectrum and yes, you're a doctor from day one, but there's so much learning and growth that happens at year 5 and year 10. And you're not expected to have the experience of a 20-year-old physician at day one. And you're expected to make mistakes and to learn and ask for help and look up resources. And that's part of the growth. And yeah, not let it hinder your progress.
Who would you talk to if you were like, this is affecting my work and I don't feel like I can do this anymore? What would you do? What would your next steps be?
As a resident,
Yeah.
oh, I would talk to my program director, assistant. Everyone should have an advisor, co-residents, lead residents, really too. Yeah, I mean, as a lead resident myself, it's okay that I don't feel perfect in my leading. I'm not the perfect example in all things, but we all have had similar experiences and can lean on each other. And if apart from imposter syndrome, depression, anxiety, um, those are real and they're more prevalent in physicians. I know we're not talking about physician mental health, but seeking counseling is a strength and not a weakness, and to have a low threshold to seek care for yourself.
I'm glad you brought that up because this episode will air in September, and September is Suicide Awareness Month, and physician suicide is something that we're all very concerned with. Since you brought it up, I'm going to ask specifically about your program because every program differs a little bit. Do they put a lot of emphasis on mental health, and do they have resources for physicians in training? And maybe what are some of those resources?
I would say we have, and I apologize, I'm sure my program directors are listening. I'm going to tell me I misspoke, but I would say my faculty program directors as advocates, I mean, apart from just having an open door policy, we have monthly didactics that are dedicated mental health wellness check-ins with everyone as a group. And then as residents, we have resident only time to talk and hopefully be there for each other. I don't think this is unique. I hope it's not. But if we ever need mental health appointments or any physical health appointments, they are willing to move your schedule around to help you seek local resources or telemed resources. We don't necessarily have built-in therapists. I did in medical school within my program or within my hospital, but I think the access and availability is where our strength is, where I am.
Yeah.
I want to shout out his program directors. Both of them are female, and I think that brings a really fun dynamic to bring more vulnerability into um, this training. Talon sat down for one of these didactics, and this is after many nights getting home after the kids have been to bed. And he has a soft spot for not seeing our youngest, his daughter. And when it was his turn, he said, I haven't seen my daughter in 5 days, and I'm just so burnt out. And I think being able to just verbalize that and also witness
Hmm.
that almost everyone was going through something really hard. This was around the holidays, so people were sharing, this is my first year in 5 years of not being able to go home to visit family or what have you. So this shifts the dynamics of how they're interacting with one another, how you felt seen and heard, and then that just boosted your spirits to keep going.
I think it's cool that you thought of a specific one. I thought of like five that I could say the same thing about, where I left those meetings seeing my faculty as my teammates and my co-residents as my family because of those wellness or mental health check-ins.
Yeah, it just reminds me, Katie and I have talked about this, the power of vulnerability, and Brene Brown talks a lot about that. Just being able to be seen by somebody, to know that you were heard, and to witness each other's moments bonds you in a way and does make you better co-residents, makes you better teammates, helps you feel less alone and more seen and able to do the things that you're required to do.
Sure.
So let's kind of segue a little bit away from mental health, but I'm curious. You've got 3 young children, so
Yeah,
these are fun times in a family when you've got little ones. How do you balance being involved in your family with these young kids, with your residency demands and studying and all of the time that is required outside of the hospital to still be prepared for your work?
that's been different at every stage. Medical school, we came in with one kid. Our second one was born after second month of medical school, and our third was born during third year, a month before my boards. And so I would say medical school,
Fun time.
yeah. So I would say medical school, adding COVID onto that, I saw my life as I'm either studying or not studying. And when I'm with my
Mhm.
family, I'm not studying, and therefore I'm going to suffer in my school. And I really grappled with that for a long time. I don't know if I ever got to a good balance in medical school. But residency, similar thing. If I'm not working, I need to be studying for my boards or learning what I'm digesting at work. And not bringing home work was really challenging. But I think through the years, really trying to leave work at work and doing whatever it takes to stay up late and study at school, but come home and be done studying, or just being able to leave work. And then when I am home, we try to be very present as a family and try to do very small things to connect with each child. Read a book with this child, go play tag or pretend, or do a family dance party before bed is our current thing. And then same with Katie, making sure we have time without screen time, without distractions when the kids go down. 5 minutes, 1 minute. It's really helped making sure I have key moments of connection with each person in my family, even if I might not have as much time.
No, I think that's beautiful. I appreciate you pointing that out, Talon, that it doesn't take a lot of time necessarily to connect with your family. It just takes some intention and being able to identify what is the most important thing to each kid. And maybe it is the dance party and maybe it is the reading the book, but be able to address their specific way that they like to connect and that is meaningful for all of you. So that's lovely. You mentioned, and Dr. Harvey mentioned this also, being able to leave work at work and leave and be at home when you're home. Do you feel that that has worked out well for you, or what is the struggle in making that shift from I'm work mode to home mode?
I have a ritual of when I'm done for the day, I turn my notifications off. I do not disturb my work stuff. And I get home and I try to have a ritual. I got this from a poem I read a long time ago of rubbing my stressors on a leaf or on a stick or something before I walk in the door. And then when I go in the house, that everything at work is at work. And it's just a mental thing. It's just having a routine. Then when I leave for the day, I pick up whatever I left off.
Talent, I've got to know, I'm still stuck on rubbing a leaf or a stick. Is that something you're doing in your mind, or are you
No,
really
no,
picking up
I, no,
something and
I'm physically touching something.
love it?
It was a Spanish poem I read, and I just hung on to that idea. So I physically grabbed something and I rub it on. Not every day, but
And then toss it before you come in the house? Or, I mean, what's
I
the.
just, I mean, I did,
I'm
yeah.
going to start this, by the way.
I mean, the theory, the poem is I'm supposed to like pick it up as I leave, but I never pick it up. I just lose it. But I just mentally like, I mentally leave whatever, or I write things down. If it's on a sticky, I write everything down, and I will address this tomorrow, and I'll take that sticky as my like to dos. But when I walk in the door, it's hopefully out of my brain. Oh.
Okay. Well, this will be the test. So, Katie, I have to know. Can you tell that difference? Be able to compartmentalize? I know other than your OB patients because we know how that goes. Tell me what your experience is with that process.
Yeah, I actually think he's really good at this. We're going through a period right now where he now has a lot of work to do outside of 9 to 9, onboarding for an away rotation. And so, I mean, right now he's sharing that he has a little bit more stress than maybe his baseline, but he does do really well at it. I will say one struggle that I have is he's really good at the compartmentalizing is I have a hard time feeling like I am on the back burner. How do you compartmentalize
Out of
us?
sight, out of mind.
Yeah, you are always on my mind and I never compartmentalize you, but I recognize that this is, an issue of full presence and almost survival.
Yeah, Talon's got
Yeah.
something to say. I can see he's itching for it.
Yeah, give me that mic.
Come on.
No,
Yeah.
you're right. I forgot about that. That is a struggle that we have. As when I'm at work, yes, I need to be at work sometimes fully present, but we've talked about making a transition point in my day, a time where I call her, even if it's for 1 minute, or I send her a text.
Mm.
So I have to delay a text and delay send so that it just goes automatically when I know I'm not going to be available. You're right. For me, it's been really meaningful to me to have a
Mm.
touch point with you,
Yeah.
however brief it is during the day. Because I definitely have transitions throughout my day.
Yeah.
Even though I have short transitions, I have transitions.
Yeah. When I get a call from Tal midday, it's a happy day. It means a lot when you make that effort.
Yeah, remember me?
Yeah.
That's great. So, a lot of people in our community, especially when their spouse is involved in an endeavor such as medical school or residency or just the life of having a profession as a physician, can often take the role of You just do that, kind of compartmentalizing.
Yeah.
You just do all of this, and then I am going to do everything. And the example is this reel I saw she shared as she was a resident. And I don't think they had any children, but her husband did everything, set the towel out for her, put the egg pan on the, really was just catering to her. And in our community, sometimes that's where we see a lot of physician spouses end up with a lot of resentment because they feel like that is the expectation that I'm supposed to just make your life as easy as possible and your job is just to be a physician. And that didn't exactly sit right with me because we are in a relationship and that requires a lot of effort on both parts. So, my question to you is how do you show gratitude for the work that Katie is doing in your home with the children and taking care of the home so that she feels seen and valued for the work that she is doing on behalf of the family when you're not present?
So my first answer to that is I notice the small things that I see and go out of my way to thank you for that. Sorry, I have to think about this one for a sec.
So the reason why he's struggling is
Katie's like, I'll answer.
Well,
Yeah,
I had two train of thoughts.
okay, so
Yeah.
keep going with your train of
that's
thought,
right.
but the
You put it together.
he sometimes will say thank you for things, and I'll be like, I don't want these are things I don't even want to do. Like, I don't want you to be grateful for that. Like, anyways, I can
Give
kind
me
of
an example.
okay.
What?
So an example would be what is an example of something that I don't want to be?
What, taking kids to school or
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for pretty much just keeping the house in order and doing everything for the kids. And for some reason, in my resentment, I'm like, but these things are, sometimes it's like soul crushing where I'm like, I just need time by myself. So I don't want to be praised. I don't know. This is a me thing. But so really, what I'm asking is that he changes his language rather than like, thank you for doing
Yeah.
all the chores around the house. It's, you're making an impact on our family.
Yeah.
Does that
We've
make
talked
sense?
about language before. We'll come
Yeah.
back to that, but Talon's got something.
well, the original answer I had to your question was the mental load that y'all talked about, Dr. Harvey,
Yeah.
and seeing our family and the responsibilities of the family as a third party, and you and I share equal, not necessarily equal responsibilities 50-50, but equal share of the mental load and how to delegate things. And it's not the default, I'm out of the home, you're in the home, therefore everything in the home is you.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of veering from if you are doing anything that's not your work, like, look, I'm doing the dishes. Aren't you so grateful that I'm doing something for you? I think veering from that and being like, no, I'm doing this because I'm a part of this family and a parent, a leader of this family, and this is what we do.
And I think, Kendra, you introduced us to the fair play.
Yeah, the fair play.
That really helped me shift my perspective of how I saw our family. And we have the cards and we try to delegate, but I think just the idea of this is my role and my job, and I'm not. He said, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for the family.
Yeah.
And you have 100%, and anything I do is extra credit to lighten your load. Is no, this is my job. And for me as a resident, I don't know how other programs do it, but I have a new rotation every 2 to 4 weeks. And so the cards I can take and the mental load I can take and not take vary a lot.
We've talked a lot about language and how language really is important. And even when I listened back to my husband's episode, I was like, oh, we still have some language to work out. But let me ask you, Katie has brought this up before that sometimes the phrase, I couldn't do this without you, doesn't sit well with her.
Yeah.
And for me too. And I think I shared, there are practicing physicians who've never been married and they're able to take care of their life. And so they can do it without us. So can you maybe tell me what is the sentiment behind those words, if that is a phrase that you've used before? I couldn't do this without you.
Yeah, I remember that episode and I thought about how I used it. And I think how I used to use and other people use it is like, you do everything. And without you, my life wouldn't be functional. And now, if I use it, I try to have the mentality of like deep gratitude for this, for acknowledging the sacrifice that you're doing in your career, your personal career, to help me fulfill this career. Having a family and children was a goal of mine and yours, and this wouldn't be a thing without you. Yeah, it is a hard one. I hear you.
Yeah, it is really hard. I think that's one of the questions I don't know that we're ever going to come to an answer on.
That's true. So
But
unique.
one of the things I know we talked about this, and one of our listeners had asked about it, it's using inclusive language when it's appropriate and when it's not. I think, Katie, you had one, or no, it was Talon. I think he was saying when we applied to the master's program, and I made a little mental note. When is it appropriate to
That's
say
a
that
great
we did
question.
something
Yeah.
versus I did something? And I'm still trying to wrestle with it.
Yeah.
Did we take the kids to the park today, or did Katie take the kids, or did we?
Yeah.
No, it's
I don't know
funny.
if we want to dive into that, or
Well,
that's its own
I think
episode.
it might be its own episode, but when
Yeah.
when we, share, I couldn't have done this without you. I There's one part of me that wants to hear that. Yeah, you couldn't have done this
Yeah.
without me. But two, I also felt trapped in this, right? So it's like I want to say the we. Yeah, we did this because I'm part of that.
I mean, so I can't do this without you. Is it, how would you feel if I said I did this with you or because of you, or we did this because of us? I feel
Oh.
like however I phrase it is going to sound.
Look what we accomplished.
And what is it? Is it the family plus becoming a doctor? Is it just becoming a doctor? Is it?
I think when if we focus on life, we look at this life we're building, look at the resilience we've built through this journey, look at the life we've built and grown. That feels the most appropriate use of we. But when I'm starting to
I
take
like that.
credit for him succeeding, that isn't right.
Yeah. So I just want to put those two phrases maybe right next to each other so we can hear them. The one is, I couldn't have done this without you, and look at the life that we're building.
Yeah, I think that's it.
And those definitely have two different flavors.
Mhm.
Okay. The look at the beautiful life that we're building
Yeah.
feels really good.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be our assignment. We'll both try that for the next little while,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I love that.
So we both know Katie very well. Tell me, you kind of alluded to this, that I'm gonna it is that sticky phrase, you couldn't do it without her. Katie is capable of so much, and there's a certain amount of sacrifice and support that is required to uh, get you to the finish line. So, how can you show support to Katie for the things that she wants to do either now or in the future? And how do you balance that? Or is that something that you're thinking about?
I hear you there. I think that one has been also a journey I've been on of starting this journey out. I got so accustomed to her daily sacrifice and everything. I felt, oh, great, I'm doing this. We're doing this. And then we finally hit a point. Yeah, I'm doing this because of your sacrificing physically, emotionally, mentally, everything so that I can have this work life balance and figure out med school and residency. And you're right, she does have awesome, big dreams and she's very talented. And I feel every 2 years I have to rip her out of her comfort zone and plop her into a new scenario and let her restart and grow, and then take her out of her city. And so I have not done a great job of acknowledging that, I think, along the way. And now I'm working to be more cognizant of whatever endeavor she's pursuing, being intentionally supportive of that.
I feel like you were really intentional about the type of job you were looking
Mm.
for, and you found one that was going to have more flexibility with your time and schedule, that you would have autonomy over it with that in mind. So I think you have been really intentional about it and you see me in it.
Oh, thank you. I forgot about that one. What have I done? No, yeah, I definitely took a job with less money, but more autonomy, so that I could prioritize my family through that job. And I'm actually so excited for my new job, and it's going to be amazing. And the plus is I can really balance my family and give you more support as you work on your endeavors. Changing the world.
Thanks, babe.
Let me go back to Talon. We're going to just drill you with some of our hardest questions we've saved for the.
Love it. Yeah, I got lured into this.
This is a safe spot.
I'm
It's
just
all
kidding. Yeah.
good. Let me ask, Talon, if you could go back to the start of training, the very beginning, what advice would you give yourself?
I think take time for myself. I don't think I exercise much at all. And yeah, like I talk about the whole person thing. I did not do much exercise. I did not do much reading or other personal pursuits. It felt like I go to work and I come home and just put my head down and sacrifice for the family. Do the dishes, put the kids down, wake up, go back to work. Or I study for boards. I just got so into this zone of overdrive.
Survival.
Survival, absolutely survival mode.
Mhm.
Was I thriving? I don't know. Maybe people thought I was, but I felt like I was surviving. I was keeping my family afloat and my work afloat and my studies afloat, but didn't feel like I had good balance. I feel like first year was challenging, and having those intentional moments with you and I and with each kid, I think has been something we've developed. Yeah, I think obviously the mental load thing I wish I knew in first year. That thing's been a game changer. There's lots of little things I would tell myself.
Okay. I know it's almost impossible. We always ask that question, what advice would you give to your younger self? But knowing that somebody who hears it's almost like they have to go through it themselves and figure
Mm-hmm.
out the ins and outs and figure out that you can't study all of the time or figure out that you do need to spend some time focusing on yourself. And so almost, I know you said earlier, it's either I'm studying or I'm not studying. And when you're studying, you feel guilty that you're not with your family or taking care of yourself. But when you're taking care of yourself or with your family, you feel guilty that you're not
Oh, it's
studying.
the worst.
You know what I'm talking about. I think
Yeah,
I nailed it right there.
100%.
Is
Yeah.
it's that's always I should be doing something else. And it's
Yeah.
uh I think that is life's dilemma. So I hope somebody who's maybe listening to this and sharing it with their spouse can recognize that it's hard and there are some things you probably have to learn on your own the hard way.
Mm.
But if you can make it a little bit easier and learn it a little bit sooner and faster, that'll save you a lot of heartache in the end.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Now that you've been on the medical journey, would you do it again? And
That's a good one.
would you do it also the same way with family in tow?
Oh, yeah. Would I do it again? There's been times I probably would have said no, but now that I'm here and can see the future, absolutely. It is so, so fulfilling. There's been days where I've been at someone's deathbed and then delivered a baby within 12 hours. And that's happened multiple times. And to have those deep, intimate relationships with people has been so fulfilling professionally. And I know we've talked about this. I literally could not have done this without the children. Having children has required tons of sacrifice and balance, but the balance that they give me and the fulfillment they give me in being a father and having connection and a purpose, a driving purpose to wake up early and to do this and to come home. And I know I couldn't do it without you all. And so I would do it again. And I wouldn't change anything about it because the lessons I learned along the way have been so valuable to me and my ability to connect with other people and help other people. I wouldn't get those another way.
Yeah.
A great answer.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna wrap up pretty soon. You've been with us a long time. I really appreciate it, Talon. But
Yeah.
on a personal note, what is it like to be married to Katie?
My time to
You
shine.
lucky man.
I know. I I mean I got my first grade crush. No, gosh,
I
man,
know,
Katie.
lucky.
She brings so much light and life into my life, our family's life, and her joy for life is contagious. And I love being your friend, being your husband, raising our fun kids together, exploring together. I learned so much from you. She's just always learning, always growing, and never settles for less. And thinking about this journey that we've been on, every big, bold decision has stemmed with her. But it's proved to be the right choice, and sacrifice has been worth it. And yeah, I am very lucky.
Yeah. Well, you guys are both an
Thank you.
amazing couple, and I feel like I got my own private little glimpse into your life and helps me understand Katie a little bit better too. But you guys are absolutely amazing. And so thank you both so much for your honesty and your openness and vulnerability here. And I know that your words are going to give strength and perspective to all of the physician families who are walking the same road. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
You
Thanks
guys
for
are
having
good
me.
sports.
Yeah, thanks, son. And thank you. That
Yeah,
was
my
really nice.
pleasure.
Yeah. And I have nothing else to add. I love what you two are doing. I definitely tied for number one fan, but I think it's a very important population that you're serving, and it's a huge need. And there's things I wish we had known or talked about or been aware of, and just having a shared experience that we felt like we were the only ones going through this, and 100% not true. So you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation with Dr. Talon Harris and his wife, Katie. We love diving into real topics that every physician family can relate to.
We'd also love to hear what stood out to you. And if you have ideas for future topics, send them our way. You can always connect with us on Instagram at Supporting Physician Spouses or by email at hello@supportingphysicianspouses.com.
And here's a thought. Dr. Harris and Dr. Harvey are both avid listeners of this podcast. Are you sharing these conversations with your partner? It might just spark something new between you.
The very best way you can support us is by sharing it with a friend who could use it too, or by leaving a review on Apple or Spotify.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Supporting Physician Spouses.
Bye.
Goodbye.